So where in the world do we allow for crazy ideas to come about? Because if you're always trying to protect what you have, whether you're a large company or a government, then you're stuck with incremental progress. But if you really want breakthroughs, then you need to be thinking in outlandish ways.
Do you ever consider the possibility that technology is a life form in and of itself? Do you ever consider the
Welcome to the
possibility
Futurology Podcast, the #1 podcast for Reddit's Futurology community. With us today again is Alex, who runs the SpeakMouthWords channel on YouTube. Alex,
Hi.
Welcome, buddy.
Thanks. Hi.
Hey, so how did that go last time? I know you uploaded our first podcast to your channel to get some extra recognition out there for us.
Seemed to go over well. It's always hard because all you get is a view figure.
Yeah.
On YouTube, so you never know how many people have watched it all the way through. Or you do. There's analytics in the back end, but I never look at them. So It seemed to get a few views. Seems like we're picking up numbers. It's nice.
Good. Yeah, and what I've noticed from it is I'm not sure about on your channel, but when I upload these, I get little messages in my YouTube inbox that say, "Hey, I liked your podcast about future and science. Here's ours." And I've gotten 2 or 3 of those now, and it's cool to see these these podcasts I've never even heard of that are sprouting up all over the place. And because we did talk about that last time. We talked about how what can the average person do to kind of help out, and a lot of us aren't the scientists or the engineers, but we do have a social voice and to get the word out there.
Yes. All it takes is a microphone and a copy of a few programs on your computer, and away you go.
Exactly, and like I said, your channel is what, less than a year old.
I've been doing Nobody Paying Attention for less than a year. Yeah.
And that has already gained enormous amounts of exposure. So hopefully we'll keep inspiring, and we'll keep meeting up with these different communities, and hopefully if you guys are listening to this on YouTube or iTunes, you'll check us out on r/Futurology. We're at about 50,000 strong right now, and right now we're gonna count down the top 5 links of the month. Basically, we just take the 5 most voted upon links, something that isn't an image or a video trailer for a sci-fi movie, just pretty much the news articles, and we'll count down the most popular ones. The first one was submitted by Tiki Rocks. It got 1,025 upvotes, and his title is "A New Asteroid Mining Company, Deep Space Industries, Inc. launches Tuesday with the goal of helping humanity expand across the solar system by tapping the vast riches of space rocks. It plans to launch a fleet of prospecting spacecraft in 2015. This to me was pretty interesting because I read through the article, and they are going to name their little spacecraft Fireflies. And are you a sci-fi fan at all? Do you remember that show?
I have never watched Firefly, and all my nerd credentials just flew out the window.
Oh no! I'll have to send it to you. Do you guys have streaming out there in the UK? Or
I'm sure I've got ways of watching it. It's just I've never taken the time to sit down and work my way through it. It's only, how long is it?
It's only 1 season.
Yeah.
So
it'll take me a while.
Yeah, not at all. And I think that 1 season is only, I want to say it's right around 10 episodes.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of it for people is just nostalgia. And I mean, the show, if it came out now, it would still be a pretty good show, but it just has that huge backing. Anyway, the name of the ship was Firefly, or the name of the show is Firefly. And
it's a type of ship, isn't it? In the show, it's
right.
There's a Firefly class something called Serenity, if I know my show correctly.
And it was actually a Dragonfly class, I believe, and that's the other type of ship they're going to use. So the Firefly ships they have are going to be like the little scouts. They're gonna land on these asteroids, take samples, come back to mission control, and then we'll be launching the bigger ships called the Dragonflies, and those are the ones that are going to do the work. And I don't know at what kind of a scale they're going to do this on, but they say they want to launch by 2016 or 2015.
2015, yeah.
Yeah. So,
judging by their video, they seem to be looking at a very large scale. And judging by the fact that they've got an inventor who has a patent pending on a 0G 3D printer, it seems like they want to build out in space with the materials rather than dragging them around or dragging them back to Earth, which is pretty interesting and something that Planetary Resources didn't really talk about.
Do you think this time frame is feasible? 2015? That's a couple of years.
That's the prospecting craft to launch.
Right.
When Planetary Resources, which is the other asteroid mining company, announced their prospecting craft, they said they would launch within 18 months of their announcement. And I forget when that announcement was, but that was a while ago. Actually, I do remember, because that was one of the first stories I ever reported on my show. That was April last year.
Okay.
So that's pretty soon, right? That's this year they want to launch their prospecting craft, and Deep Space Industries wants 2015.
Right, and I'm not sure what Planetary Resources wants to do differently. I know they've messed around with Kickstarter a little bit to allow people to go in and do different things. They want to actually connect with their fans and let them. I don't know if they're going to necessarily let people do their actual scouting, but they want to have them have a say in what they do, and they're using Kickstarter to do that. So basically, it's you can give them lots of money to mess around with one of their spaceships, which a lot of people are going to do. So
yeah,
that's a pretty good idea. But it seems like this company also wants to use media hype to and hey, I'm all for that, because when you're a private company, sponsorship money can be huge. I mean, if you can get Coca-Cola to slap a sticker on your spaceship, you might look like you're selling out, but they also have a giant marketing campaign.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, I mean, any thoughts on this? Good, bad, ugly?
I think it's interesting because they haven't come out and said, we've got a lot of money and we're going to do this. They said they're going to do this. They haven't. I don't know. Are they doing funding rounds? Because I know that Planetary Resources has billionaire backing already.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know how expensive, off the top of my head, this type of stuff to do is. So I don't know whether they have the funding, whether they're saying they can do it in 2015 if they get the money from investors to do it, or whether they're saying they've already got the capacity to do it, is a different question entirely.
Yeah, it's been pretty vague. They just said here that the public will participate in Firefly and Dragonfly missions via live feed from Mission Control, online courses in asteroid mining sponsored by corporate marketers, and other innovative ways to open the doors wide. So they're being pretty vague, but corporate investors, sponsorship, and it kind of dangling a little something out there for the public to get involved with.
I would be wary, though. All these companies seem to be relying on these big media spectacles and things like that. In the future, when all these things are happening, maybe people are going to get a bit tired of, oh wow, stuff in space. Because you've got Mars 1 and you've got this, and if everybody's going the route saying, oh, we can kind of show off and, oh, we're mining an asteroid, I think people might get a bit tired after a while.
Yeah. And well, the thing is, we haven't really seen it work yet. We've seen Mars 1 try it and get absolutely destroyed in an AMA, which I thought was kind of I don't know, it was kind of hurtful, because people kind of told them right away. I don't know if you're familiar with when they came out and did their little
I saw it. Yeah.
And they basically, like, the top comments were like super negative, and that's one thing I really don't like about Reddit is like, what is that guy's credentials? What is his day job, and is he qualified to be commenting if a company can make it to Mars?
Yeah.
Because chances are, that's someone, that's a 19-year-old who works at McDonald's, and he's getting 595 upvotes for telling a billionaire that he'd never be able to go to space. So, and then you only need a couple upvotes after that to get the hive on your side. So, and stuff like that can really tarnish a reputation, because if you're relying on public backing to kind of, and get your project on its feet, then that could have just killed it dead in the water when it may have had a possibility. I'm not saying that I didn't question some of the things they said, especially their timeline and how they want to just keep people up there. I don't know what I would do after a couple weeks if people, if someone said you'll never be able to go outside again without wearing a suit. I'd get a little stir crazy myself. But anyway,
well, the way to show Reddit up is to do it. When they land, you can point back, and we can all laugh at how the hubris of Reddit when they were saying that they could never do it.
Right, but to do it, like a certain amount of public will have to believe in that company.
Oh yeah.
In order for them to get funded, but yeah. So take us into the next link there.
Yeah, the next story was the discovery of alien life in the next 10 years is one of the 5 X factors that world leaders have been advised to prepare for, and this was submitted by Pemboification. And it seemed to be a group of scientists or people who brief countries saying, it was the World Economic Forum held in Davos, and they were saying that there were these 5 things that you want to watch out for, and this particular article is from dailygalaxy.com, which is space oriented, so they concentrated on the alien life, but there were 5 things they announced that countries should watch out for, and that's runaway climate change, significant cognitive enhancement, rogue development of geoengineering, costs of living longer, and discovery of alien life. And that's a list put together by Starfries, which is the top comment on that Reddit post. And it's an interesting proposition. They were saying one of the things to watch out for in the next 10 years, discovery of alien life. And the thing to watch out for is not that we're going to have UFOs bearing down upon us, it's that the psychological and spiritual, religious implications of that on our social structure, and what that could undermine if it were to be announced.
But do you think that's even, like, I look at this and I think that as much as I love aliens and thinking about other civilizations out there, I don't think that this is an X factor, only because how many people really believe that there is no life at all, and that just means like a microbial life too. Do people really believe that? I guess they have to, right? But
yeah, well, I mean, if it's going to be on this list of things to watch out for, then I guess there are people out there who think that there is nothing out there but us.
Yeah, because I've seen quite a few reports now. I mean, it's almost every day that you see like life forms found at the bottom of a lake in Antarctica, or Mars. It looks like Mars may have had water on it, or underneath Europa there's a giant ocean, and there could be sea life there. Because I mean, we've proven time and time again that life forms can survive without
life finds a way. It's a quite Jurassic Park. Yeah. Right.
And you don't need a lot of these places, like in the deepest depths of the ocean, they're not getting sunlight. They're getting their nutrients from cracks and volcanic activity, and just really bizarre stuff that so I do believe, even in our solar system, I'm gonna go out on a limb and say there might be microbial life. So I don't believe that this to be an X factor. If this planet that we found, that this Earth-like planet, which is 13 light years away. If we point something super powered at it and and find signs of life. But first of all, I don't exactly know how they want to go about proving that even if it is a Goldilocks planet, that it would have signs of life.
Yeah, there's a few ways you can do it. You can look for the signature spectral lines. If you do something called spectroscopy, which is where you work out what chemicals and what molecules and elements are where, you can look for chlorophyll, which is a big sign of Earth-like plant life, which is a big thing to watch out for. The thing that I was thinking about this X Factor list of, and more specifically the alien life, is where are they hoping to find this alien life? There's only a few potential spots in the solar system. I'm guessing they're talking about exoplanets. And hey, they've given a long time span on it, 10 years. And if our futurology is to be believed, then 10 years could herald a fantastic amount of change and a fantastic amount of ways to detect life off planet.
Right.
So,
yeah. I guess that's a big question too. Is it our solar system? Because if it's our solar system and we find microbial life, yes, that will be huge. But I guess when I read that, I thought I was thinking exoplanet, like different star systems. But yeah, either way, I do think people are becoming a bit more educated. Even there was some big religious guy. He has one of those TV shows that's on in the middle of the daytime, one of those TV preachers. But even this guy recently came out and said that the Earth isn't 6,000 years old. Like, we have all these dinosaur fossils and stuff. So even what was once a hardcore religious, like gun shooting, super Midwest type people are starting to come around and embrace science. So I don't think it'll be the shock that people think it will be.
Yeah, I mean, the astronomer, the Vatican City has an astronomer. They have an in-house astronomer. The Pope has an astronomer. And the previous one, I believe he left, but the previous Vatican astronomer said that he wouldn't have a problem with there being alien life theologically, and if the alien wanted to be baptized, he would be happy to do the baptism.
Wow.
Which I thought was quite a neat thing.
It is neat, and I think it's less of an issue for you guys and for Europeans in general, because religion and the whole "we are the only things in the universe," that topic almost doesn't come up. So yeah, and I think we're really we're discrediting the religious people of the United States. We're not that dumb. They're not that dumb. So this shouldn't be an X Factor in my opinion, but good article nonetheless.
Yeah. So the next one.
Google's driverless car sooner than you think. This was posted by People Are Staring. And yes, we are staring. Forbes article. This is actually if you haven't read it, we're going to post it in our summary. It's a 3-page article that goes into the technology. It starts with the technology, how we went from a 25-mile-an-hour self-driving car to one that can handle speeds of 75 miles an hour safely now in 2012. That's only been 4 years, and we're not slowly, but we're quickly coming to a point where self-driving cars, I mean, even now, a self-driving car is more safe than a person, I believe. I mean, they've gone 300,000 miles without an accident, and I can't say that I've driven 300,000 miles without, I mean, maybe not an accident, but I know I've had fender benders, and I know I've been bumped into in like at streetlights. I know when I first moved to California, someone cut me off and took off in front of my headlight. So I know that just in my 300,000 miles, I've been in quite a number of little scrapes. So that part of it, I completely agree with. And he also gets into a social and political part. And I'll kind of bring you into this because that's kind of your cup of tea too. What do you think that is? Do you think it's going to be more of a hindrance for us? Do you guys have you passed this law yet?
No. No. I believe the place in Europe that's the best for this kind of thing is Spain. Mm-hmm. But I have heard nothing from the UK. We're kind of, concentrating on other things at the moment. This is a very good article. I would seriously recommend checking it out. It's actually part of a 6-part series, so if you want to go ahead and check the rest of it out, I don't think have the parts 4, 5, and 6 been posted yet? I don't think they have.
I don't think so either.
No.
But just on the political end of things, sure. People are naturally going to be afraid because, yes, jobs will be taken away. I don't think people are looking at the bigger picture, though. Like everyone wants to scream and cry about the taxi driver that's going to lose his job. And for anyone who's a taxi driver right now, I'm sorry, I'm not pointing you out, but how many people are taxi drivers right now that want to be taxi drivers? I think that, a lot of time, I'm going to school, I'm just using this to save up to create my own company. You'll find very few taxi drivers that, hey, I love this and I want to do it for a living. And for people like that, I still think that a driverless car could be a business to have. Who says you need to always have the auto drive on, and who says people aren't going to order your service because maybe they want their luggage taken from their front door to the taxi cab. There's always going to be a need for that human interaction. So
it's not something to worry about too much. But the people who might be getting a bit worried about it, do you really think they're going to be as worried once they've tried it out, and once they've tried out being able to get their smartphone and just like press a button and then in 5 minutes a self-driving car turns up and they get in and drive off?
Exactly.
You got to try it before you complain about it, I think.
Right. And he posted a quote from one of his readers, and the quote says, "For most American drivers, the car is our iconic dream machine and our personal freedom and status statement. Americans dream about cars, and no able-bodied person dreams to be driven by robot cars, no matter how persuasive the stats appear on paper." And that is a silly comment in itself, because I look back at, we've always had transportation. If you look at the horse, well, was this an argument when they strapped 10 horses to a carriage and let people ride inside? Did you have people saying, no, the horse is my outlet, I'm not going to let the horse drive me? Yeah. Because essentially it's the same thing, right?
Car's short for carriage, so it's pretty much the same thing.
Right. So, and if I had the chance to get some work done while I'm being pulled by horses instead of me having to sit there, hold the reins, and get bounced around, I'm gonna pick B. So sure, a lot of people are going to want that escape, and I'll admit it is fun to, when the roads are empty, kind of nudge that gas pedal a little and watch the speedometer go. But I don't think it's as important as people think. I think there's, if that's your excuse that it's an escape and an American dream, then there are other things that you can strap yourself to that are probably a lot more fun than just driving down a road.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So, in conclusion on that story, go read the article. It's really good.
Yes. How about the next one?
So the next one is, the title of it on Reddit was "Scientists win 2 billion euros to fight brain disease, study graphene." Big line, Reuters. So this is an article from Reuters, and it was submitted by Uxl, UXL, on Reddit, and it's an article about a €2 billion grant that was given in together. That's the total sum between these two projects. One to study graphene, the so-called miracle material discovered in, I think, 2008 by the University of Manchester, and another one to go for the Human Brain Project. Is that what it's called? Yes, the Human Brain Project, which is attempting to just pull together everything we know about the human brain and try to, I believe, simulate one in order to study drugs and things like that and effects on the brain and other medical conditions and things.
Yeah, so I had a question. It seems like I didn't read a lot about the brain disease part, so is this more of they are going to fund the technology that will get us to be able to fight brain disease? Because
Yeah, there was a quote from the article. The International Human Brain Project, based in Switzerland, uses supercomputers to understand brain activity, speed up the diagnosis of brain diseases such as depression, Parkinson's, and Alzheimer's, and possibly develop new treatments. So it's putting a whole lot of manpower and computer power behind this Human Brain Project just to accelerate it and try to pull together the right resources to be able to have a good model of the brain, or at least a semi-acceptable model of the brain. I don't know, we're a long way off getting a good model of the brain, but a kind of decent model of the brain, such that we can study these diseases.
I like the way they pitch that, though. I mean, because you might have a lot easier time funding something like that than saying, hey, will you give us €2 billion for a supercomputer? There's still a lot of people who might look down on something like that. But, saying in which a supercomputer will be able to diagnose brain diseases. There was also something in here about what exactly graphene does. And doesn't it use carbon? It's stronger than steel, right?
Yeah, graphene is it's a 2D layer of carbon. That is to say, it's a 2D crystal. It's one atom thick. So basically I have a little personal attachment to graphene, because when I was going around universities in the UK looking for physics courses, I went to Manchester, and it was only about 6 months or a year after they discovered graphene, and I was doing a little tour around their labs and stuff, and they just kept raving about this graphene stuff. And it was the Nobel Prize was won for the discovery of graphene. So it really is a very interesting material, simply because it's essentially 2D. I mean, it's not properly 2D. I mean, atoms have a little bit of thickness, but it's one atom thick, and it has amazing properties, just like all these. I mean, you've heard of carbon nanotubes as well. It's another carbon arrangement. So these carbon arrangements are very interesting, and graphene is another particularly interesting one, and you can combine it in layers with other materials to have interesting effects. So definitely putting forward, I don't know whether it's going to be 1 billion each, but putting forward a chunk of €2 billion to study graphene is a very good idea.
What do you think will I mean, what are some devices that can take advantage of graphene now?
Well, the article talked about making lighter aircraft, flexible devices such as laptops and tablets, and medical gadgets to carry drugs into the body. It's really, I don't know. It's the applications have yet to be sort of fully fleshed out, just because it's so revolutionary.
Right. So we're still in the R&D phase, but after that, it would still have to go through some type of approval process, I'm sure, right?
Oh yeah, because they found out that carbon nanotubes, I mean, I know it's not the same, but they found out that carbon nanotubes are as dangerous as asbestos. So you've got to put them in the right context.
Oh, I did not read that, actually.
Physically, yeah.
Well, that kind of puts a halt on our whole space elevator that I was excited for.
You can always wrap it up in a rubber wire or whatever, You can still use it as long as you keep a distance from it. Don't touch it. Don't get it on your skin.
Okay. That was submitted by UXL. We went over that. It's a pretty short article. Like I said, we'll link everybody to that. The next one was submitted by Trick Rish, 600 upvotes, and the title is 7 Best Case Scenarios for the Future of Humanity. It's from sentientdevelopments.com, And this guy George, he's a writer for IO9 as well. This is his personal blog, and usually I agree with him 100%. But let me just go through these 7 real quick. The first one would be status quo, and everything pretty much stays the same as it is. Moore's law will continue, but we've pretty much capped out. Number 2, a bright green earth. We start to become more environmentally friendly. Number 3, we're watched over by machines of loving grace. He talks about AI and
friendly AI, yeah.
Friendly AI. Number 4 is to boldly go where no one has gone before, and that's he talks about space colonization. Number 5, inner space, not outer space. This kind of brings transcension together with virtual reality. 6 is external bliss, where we can make a utopian afterlife because we don't feel things like pain. And we can kind of already do that now. I'll tell you what my problem is with these bullet points after this one. Number 7 is cosmological transcension. And this one to me is almost like number 5, because they're both kind of, you are here but you aren't here. You're in a different reality.
Yeah.
So I guess the main problem I have with this is I believe it's a little bit of everything. There's going to be a little bit of status quo. We're already working towards becoming more environmentally friendly. We are currently working on friendly AI, and it'll eventually get to a point where it's just extremely smart. We just went over how we're talking about mining asteroids, and last month we talked about going to the moon. So we are already going boldly. Inner space, we just had an article that was on the front page about that virtual reality company. Something Rift. I can't think of the whole name.
Oh, the Oculus Rift.
Right.
Headset. Yeah.
So that's pretty much here. Eternal bliss. We have things like marijuana, DMT, and mushrooms. So that's. I mean, we're already practicing that. 7, and this is the only other one that doesn't make a lot of sense, because I do believe in transcension, but I don't believe that. He writes here that John Smart has suggested that human civilization is increasingly migrating into smaller and smaller increments of matter, energy, space, and time. Eventually, he argues, he'll take our collective intelligence into a cosmological realm with the same efficiency and density as a black hole, where we'll essentially escape the universe. Yeah. Not so much, because while I do believe in like a transcension via virtual reality, I don't think you can just disappear into a black hole because your cell phone keeps getting smaller.
Well, it's an idea that was pushed by Jason Silver.
Yeah, I saw that.
You upload your it's an extension of mind uploading, and it's important to state that on this article the writer did say that these things aren't mutually exclusive, and the 7th one is a placeholder for all those kind of really crazy things that you might possibly think of. I'll talk about my pet one of those after I'm just done making this point. Jason Silver he didn't put it forward, he communicated the idea that someone else put forward of the transcension hypothesis, which is when you're mind uploading supercomputer substrates that you're existing in your virtual worlds, and you don't have a corporeal body and all this, it's very far off stuff, but it's when that computation gets so dense that you cause a space-time singularity and you leave the universe. It makes a number of assumptions about general relativity and quantum gravity and things like that we're yet to see in physics whether they're true or not. But when it comes to 7, it's for the really far off, wow, what could happen, at the end of the book Accelerando by Charles Stross, it talks about, and this isn't a spoiler, but it talks about a galaxy that's managed to convert itself into a single AI, and it spends its time trying to hack away at the digital programming of the universe. And that's my favorite cosmological transcension, is when if we potentially discover that our universe is either a simulation or something that is isomorphic to a simulation, and you can just spend your time, just if you were a galaxy-wide supercomputer, just trying to hack your way out of your own simulation, which is a great cosmological transcension. And you should never take any of these ideas at face value or written in stone or anything like that, because they are the really wacky things. And in this article he does state that these are for the things that we can't possibly imagine, so by the very fact of me imagining it, it's not really part of in 7. But
right. I guess the only thing I had a problem with, but then after you kind of started explaining that, was the just creating a black hole by miniaturization. But I guess if you're looking at that metaphorically, you can. And I actually do subscribe to the simulation theory. In fact, I know it was just posted on here, so let me give the guy credit. Is the universe a computer simulation? Submitted by Infinite Source, and it's not on the front page. It won't get to the front page, but it's on there now. We can put it in the description. But the guy who makes this video compilation uses several sources, and several credible sources, and I say that because the video is from Infowars.com, which is not the most reliable source all the time. I'm not going to be a hater,
no.
But they do have Alex Jones, and Alex Jones
is Alex Jones.
Yes,
no more needs to be said.
Yeah, but I completely subscribe to the fact that, I mean, if we can find computer code in trees, and we've found that these limitations, I'm sure you've looked into this, being a physicist. Just, I mean, is it widely accepted, or is it just a core group of people that consistently pump out, oh, well, it could be because of this?
Well, it's not the accepted doctrine, no. But there are a number of parallels between digital simulations and the physical properties of the universe that we see. And it's an area of science called digital physics. And if you're interested in it, that's the keywords you need to be looking up, is digital physics.
Digital physics. I will look that up. So what, I guess, is generally accepted? Is there anything before the Big Bang? And I'm sorry if I'm kind of putting you on the spot, but I'm generally interested on...
It's not really... It doesn't really deal with cosmology. It more deals with the laws of the universe, like the interactions between matter and quantum mechanics, and how there's parallels between that and various properties of computers and things like that. I wouldn't be able to reel them off because it's been about a month or two since I last read up on it, but yeah.
We were actually discussing this on another podcast, but if you can, and we're at the point where we can make simulations on an atomic level, right? So eventually, with supercomputers, we're going to be able to resemble the Big Bang. We're going to be able to simulate that. And once we hit that start button, we don't have to watch that in real time. We don't have to wait 13 billion years for life forms. We can hit the fast forward button on a simulation, just like it's a video game, and see what happens. And my question was, you know, in this simulation, when carbon life starts to form, and you know, we see these little microbes and these whatever fish turn into apes, and eventually whatever. Are they going to know they're in a simulation? I guess that's the main question.
Yeah.
Would they know, or would it just be too perfect?
And what happens when they work it out?
You're
exactly.
Right. And will they be able to, or will they need AI to work it out for them? And are we working on AI right now?
And are they AI? And are we AI? It's all very deep, and there aren't any easy answers until we give it a go.
Yep. So yeah, we kind of went off on a rant here, but that was just one section of the.
Yeah, I was very interested in the Viridian design movement and bright green environmentalism. Both these things that I hadn't heard of before. It's section 2 of this post. I'm going to go away and look those up because they seem really cool and really interesting.
Yeah, and essentially what they do is we've talked about this before, how we can eventually one day we'll be able to control the weather, and that'll be like when we become a type 1 civilization. But they want to do this, but they want to do it through nature, right? They want to like use bioengineered trees and stuff like that, from what I'm gathering.
Yeah, it's very easy for transhumanists and for singularitarians and for just people enthusiastic about the future of technology in general to dismiss environmentalism because, oh well, you're contributing towards computation. It's all about how many megabits per second we can fit into each kilogram of matter that exists on the planet, and some people actually think like that. But these people combine the two. They combine futurism and they combine environmentalism into a nice bundle that I don't really think you see anywhere apart from a couple of places in Arizona. So yeah.
On a large scale, though, I would almost say it's happening now unconsciously, because if you look at the beginning of like the technological revolution and the industrial revolution, I mean, people didn't think of putting gardens on skyscrapers, or you've seen those buildings now in Dubai, which are like, they have entire like fields and outside just beautiful outside areas full of trees, and you can see now that cities are incorporating their nature back into the city. And we have vertical farming now, which it looks ugly now, but it's still in prototype stages. So I mean, we can make vertical farming look awesome, and so yeah, I don't want to count this out. I didn't know it was a movement in itself either, but
well, Bright Green Environmentalism has a Wikipedia page that I have a tab open for, and I'll be reading the moment we're done. So yeah, it's a good thing to look into.
Did any of these other ones strike you as noteworthy?
Well, inner space, not outer space, is kind of linked to cosmological transcension in a way. Watched Over by Machines of Love and Grace. It's a good poem. I'm not entirely convinced that AI will automatically follow the laws of robotics, Asimov's laws of robotics. Status Quo, there is a very cool... I've completely forgotten the name, but it's how on the last podcast we were talking about collapse versus futurology. There is a middle way that's it's where we don't... I think it's called the big squelch or something disappointing. It's the big disappointment where there's not any catastrophic failure and there's not any transcension to the stars. It's just if you can imagine a line of imagine a graph, and the higher it is, the better humanity gets. Instead of shooting off up to infinity, up to the top, or instead of hitting rock zero, it flattens out to a straight line, and we just just carry on as we are.
Yeah.
From like the year 2060 or something like that, and then that's it forever. It's a good concept. I like that.
I like it too. I mean, who knows? But at the same time, because a lot of things would have to stop for that to work.
Yeah.
And because as long as technology continues, even as long as Moore's law continues, we're going to be making things cheaper, and we're always going to have... humanity's always going to try to, feed the poor and nurse the sick, and you're not going to see kids in Africa covered in flies in the future. I don't believe, because right now we're already doing that, but it's a matter of resources and money and the cost of getting stuff there, right? That we can't. And
so this kind of thing relies on limits being hit. Physical limits, social limits, mental limits, and things like that. And once you've hit all of those limits, you've kind of maxed out potential, and then you've you've got to sail.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? It is hard to think about that everything's going to be roses, that we're not going to have bad people, that in 1,000 years you would never think of someone stealing or getting in a bar fight. Or I think as long as we're humans, we're gonna have that. We're gonna have a hard road ahead of us. But I also don't think it's going to turn into doomsday preppers, where everybody's trying to kill each other with a gun they bought from Walmart. So yeah, that's that.
That was that. Yeah. And a quick shout out to the podcast that's run by that website. It's a pretty good podcast. You should listen to it.
Yeah. And it's the same word, Sentient Developments.
Yep, Sentient Developments. By George Dvorsky.
Got it. And do you want to take us in? Actually, I believe that was the last link, and we're right around the 45-minute mark.
Yeah.
So we were going to talk about predictions. I don't know. Do you think we still have time?
I'd say we should save that for another time.
Okay, cool. Well, next podcast we'll talk about it. Then we were going to talk about predictions from the past versus
failed predictions from the past. Yeah,
right.
And which predictions in the present are failed. Go ahead and leave some comments maybe on YouTube. Which predictions that are currently made now you think are going to fail in the future? And on the Reddit thread for this podcast, leave some comments about which things you think are predicted now that you think just won't come to pass.
Yeah, and Alex, where can people find your YouTube channel?
My YouTube channel can be found at youtube.com/SpeakMouthWords. All one word, 3 words smashed together.
And SpeakMouthWords on Twitter?
SpeakMouthWords on Twitter, SpeakMouthWords everywhere.
Got it. And Blinker Goes Left on Reddit. If you guys want to be a guest for the show or jump on, give us your thoughts, come on whenever. It's an open forum. We do it when we can. Right now it's Saturday morning. We'll probably have this uploaded on a Monday or a Tuesday. But we will see you guys next time.
All right.
Bye. That was $60 million, half a building in size, 40 years ago. So what used to be half a building now fits in your pocket.
Which leads to an obvious conclusion. We are the gods now.